Looking for a great Twitch channel to subscribe to? Then check out Double Toasted at twitch.com/doubletoasted for hilarious reviews and commentary on movies, current events, video games, and so much more. Help the crew get to their goal of 2,500 subscribers by May, and they'll watch Corey Coleman's masterpiece Space Jam. And as a stretch goal, get to 5,000 subscribers for a 12-hour live stream. Subscribe today at twitch.com/doubletoasted. Finally, the true story is bravely told that the Tate LaBianca murders were predicted through a series of bad dreams and haunted music recordings, all set inside of a slasher movie universe. Wait, what? That's right, in the category of, oh yeah, this exists, we have the 2019 supernatural horror film, The Haunting of Sharon Tate. The movie, which stars Hilary Duff as Sharon Tate, depicting the last few days in Tate's life, which were consumed with premonitions of her own death, and the Manson family acting like members of the Thorn cult. The movie goes off of Tate apparently giving an interview a year before her murder about envisioning her own death, and it certainly runs with it. The film was written and directed by Daniel Ferrens, who had previously directed two highly acclaimed slasher movie documentaries, Crystal Lake Memories and Never Sleep Again. He also directed the Amityville Murders about the DeFeo Massacre. Since when has that story been used for fiction? And speaking of Thorn Cult, he also wrote Halloween 6, and you can tell he has a lot of slasher movie influence between the documentaries he's made and that there are slasher movie tropes all over the place in his movies. He did serve as co-writer on the wildly disturbing 2007 film The Girl Next Door, based on the murder of Sylvia Likens, but The Haunting of Sharon Tate, it's not as good, to put it lightly. The Girl Next Door felt like you were watching real horror happen to real people. This movie is like if you accidentally watched the other Blanche Baker horror film, The Life Zone. 2019 was quite the year for alternate history Manson family movies. It was also the year for people who know nothing about movies and storytelling to tell you that these two movies are somehow the same. Whereas one is nominated for multiple Oscars, the other is certainly a Razzie contender. Let me just say that the conspiracy theories are ridiculous right from the start. Pfft, electricity didn't kill the Manson family. This has to be good. It starts with a quote. Is all that we see or seem but a dream within a dream? Clearly, Edgar Allan Poe is quoting his favorite scene from Dreamer while listening to the music of Drexel the Dream Hemsley and offering a quote for the opening of an Elm Street film. This is a throwback to when interviews were shot digitally and then made to look like film.
I think my whole life has been decided by fate.
I'm starting to see why the opening credits were embarrassed and hiding in the corner. This is Sharon Tate predicting her murder a year before it happened, or something. Focus, you horny cameraman. Thus begins the director's trend of making true crime movies that secretly take place in the Nightmare on Elm Street universe. Look at what he did to Nicole Simpson in his next movie. This interview seems awkward.
And as I moved closer, I realized it was my friend, Jay Sebring. Both of us had been cut open at the throat.
Okay, anyway, let's get back to talking about Valley of the Dolls, Miss Tate. And of course it uses real-life crime scene footage, cut between what looks like a fan film remake of Friday the 13th 3D. There's all kinds of familiar names in this.
Were found dead at the home of Miss Tate and her husband, screen director Roman Polanski.
Roman Polanski was like the Roman Polanski of the 60s. In case you forgot what the movie was about during the world's worst Google Street View footage.
With instructions to kill everyone in the house.
Stupid goth girls! This feels less like a movie and more like something Jake Gyllenhaal would have shot in Nightcrawler 3 days earlier. Well, you already spoiled it for me. Sorta. Why, did you expect this movie to be told straightforward and not confusing? The editor's name is literally Riddle. This is Sharon with Jay Sebring, played by Jonathan Bennett. You may know him from Mean Girls, but Snob fans know him as Sebastian, the totally straight gay best friend from A Christmas Kiss 2. Here, he's more or less playing the same character.
You're the one who left me for another man, remember?
Well, you didn't become stylist to the stars by just running your fingers through their hair.
I like to keep my clients happy.
You sure it was her who broke off the relationship for another man? Oh no, the killer from He Knows You're Alone is already there. Oh good, Hillary, you're just in time for our 1960s themed house party to ring in 2020. This is supposed to be Abigail Folger and Volchek Verkovsky.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's good to see you too, Wojtek.
60s, bro. If you don't know the story, just let the movie tell you.
You do remember that she's married to your best friend, right?
Don't be jealous, baby.
No, you're ruining the surprise. We got baby stuff and clunky exposition. Plus, this is a 2019 movie, so I think we all know whose fault it is that this happened.
Yes, well, I can see how a film called Day of the Dolphin would be more important than coming home and spending time with your 8 months pregnant wife.
That's a common theme in this film. Even though Roman Polanski is not in the movie, let's practically put the knife in his hand for no reason. It's when they start talking about asses, seriously.
The extra chair is for Orson Welles. Have you seen the size of his ass lately?
To Sharon Tate Polanski and her once spectacular ass.
That the movie decides to fast forward to get to the end. Oh, guess we have to see them have dinner, though.
Guarding the entrance, there's this strange little guy. Now, to me, he looks like an elf, one of those, the lawn statue,
A gnome?
I know.
You're from Connecticut! He talks about how he helped Polanski make his first movie. So far, The Haunting of Sharon Tate is way more about Polanski than Sharon Tate. Until they start the endless stream of pretentious philosophical dialogue.
Like, is life just some random series of coincidences, or is there some greater plan?
Oh, I believe this conversation happened. You know whose fault this bad dialogue is?
Wojtek, what if you had never had that run-in with Roman at your school dance?
And Sharon isn't the only character who speaks like this.
We can all look back at the choices we've made, the roads taken and not taken, and wonder if this is all life has in store for us.
This whole movie is dialogue that only exists in true crime movies when the writer wants every character to subconsciously know how the story ends. And when they want you to know whose fault the crime is.
I think he's having another affair.
Never mind all that true story stuff, though, because the movie is Slumber Party Massacre now with its psychic party games.
Will I live a long, happy life?
Oh no, there's a knock at the door before they finish their foreshadowing game. He shoos away the wandering member of the Firefly family before things get really weird.
Who is that?
Just some oddball who keeps coming around looking for Terry Melcher.
Yeah, fine. Pick up that name you dropped and let's get back inside. Sure, they may have been looking for Terry, but it's when Sharon is woken up by the sounds of Rod and Tina having sex in the next room that we're reminded who is at fault.
Damn you, Roman.
Sharon was known for her random horror movie midnight strolls through the night before she died. Oops, walked in on the freezer taking a crap. And she doesn't even notice the wandering jump scare outside. Must be Thursday now. As we look over the Los Santos skyline from GTA 5, let's get to some more of these totally real live journal-like conversations.
You think we're the only ones here? It's like the entire world is still asleep.
They're not. You know it gets weird when the walk turns into a slow-mo walk.
I don't like the idea of some underworld.
Oh damn, Grace Slick looks pissed. Unfortunately, they find a swarm of CGI flies surrounding a dead dog, definitely killed by Charles Michael Myers.
It's my fault.
No, Roman's fault! Anyway, here's Stephen Parent, visitor of the property's caretaker. Can we get back to the dog?
I'm the one to blame here. I should have brought the dog inside.
No, Roman should have! And don't let this 5 seconds of non-Roman talk confuse you. There's more references right around the corner. Roman Polanski? I thought she was married to John Cassavetes. I guess it should be about Charlie now. Good thing they have this haunted track of his music.
Pretty girl. Pretty girl.
Oh, sweet, I love the Doors. By the way, yes, it is haunted. Great, Charlie's music also inspired Sammy Kerr from Trick or Treat. Now for a nice, quiet dip before more premonition dialogue.
Sometimes bad things just happen. You can't protect everything, or everyone.
And do you know why bad things happen?
This is supposed to be our home. Roman, me, the baby.
See, it's all Ken Russell's fault. The conversations here about fate and destiny and lives being like rewritten movie scripts and alternate paths are exhausting!
Do you think that we're slaves to our own destiny?
Every parody of a pretentious movie contains that line. Too bad this isn't a comedy! This is less about a real-life murderous cult, and more like something out of a supernatural cult leader movie like Bad Dreams, also an Elm Street knockoff. If I could find one decent thing to say about it. I don't know, that shot was kinda creepy, I guess. What on earth is causing this madness?
Pretty girl.
Oh right, the haunted music track, probably put there by Roman. I'm reminded about how way more artistic, moody, and provocative the Helter Skelter Murders was. And it had that sweet Bonnewell Music Machine soundtrack. Even Snuff, another Manson family-inspired exploitation flick, but way more thought in the filmmaking than this. Also, are we getting to the murders already?
I'm the devil. And I'm here to do the devil's business.
Now, you may think that this is actually happening, especially when it gets weirdly pornographic with its violence, but nope, dream sequence. She totally dreamed all this right beforehand, you guys.
It was just like that terrible dream I had. They were killing all of us.
Oh yeah, this is exactly like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, if you've never heard of a word called context. Don't you know? Autofocus is just like the unauthorized Saved by the Bell story. What? They both revolve around sitcoms. I'm gonna go take a break now. If I die sometime during the commercial break, please make sure that there's a movie like this made about me. Oh, I see we're back from the commercial break. You know whose fault that is?
Did you call Roman?
Twice. Still no answer.
But obviously there is something in those eggs. Otherwise, why is Sharon suddenly seeing the spirit of dead animals in the fridge? Stupid 60s.
It's right there! It was just right there.
Yeah, Peter Venkman is having trouble believing you right now, Miss Barrett. Sharon is going crazy, so she asked to be told about Charlie. I'm sure to spare her feelings, they just break down the Star Trek Charlie X episode. Or more hacky-ass dialogue.
You're the one who's always telling me that the things we manifest in life come from the things that we put energy into.
Really? She is always telling you that? How many times has that come up? As she continues screaming at them about Charlie and the house maybe being haunted, it's like the filmmakers are inadvertently making her as unlikable as Laurie Strode in Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, only if Laurie predicted the Manson murders.
God, you're sounding as if you think there's some kind of plot against you.
This is not one of Roman's movies.
Don't!
Right? If it were, the movie would probably be good. All these packages being dropped off are driving her more crazy, but has anyone bothered questioning the mystery man from Lost Highway? I bet you that this movie is so low budget because they had to pay Charlie millions to use his music. And the sloths, too. Don't forget the sloths, they're also on the soundtrack. Maybe she can enlist in Steven's help to get some strawberry alarm clock in here. He knows a thing or two about assembling exposition.
You're really into gadgets, aren't you?
I've always loved taking things apart and putting them back together.
Fantastic. I'm watching Daniel Farron's foreshadow a gritty reboot of Inspector Gadget. And I know who Sharon Tate is, movie.
and I'm just a girl from Dallas whose military dad moved the family every few years and never had any friends.
You don't need exposition halfway through a movie about your real-life lead character. And that doesn't mean add more premonition dialogue.
You know, it's never too late to tell the people you care about how you feel.
Oh God, we're gonna die, aren't we? Anyway, back to getting some grassroots music up in here.
This tape, it contains subliminal messages. It's a technique called backmasking.
Ugh, it's turning into the Hells Bells anti-rock and roll documentary. I'm half expecting this movie to tell me who killed JFK.
It sounds like some kind of chant or mantra, almost like the foretelling of a prophecy.
You're right, that is nuts. Didn't you know that Sharon Tate was the first one to uncover the mysteries of Charlie's subliminal messages hidden within his music? Among other things that the movie now wants to be about.
I think it's all part of a plot created by the government to turn us all into conformists, to keep us from questioning what's really going on.
Oh hi, writer-director speaking on behalf of the character. Thank God this is broken up by a pervy phone call.
I'm your boyfriend now, Nancy.
This was way before Freddy carved a swastika in his head. Oh, did I say Roman wasn't in this movie? Well, I was kinda wrong, since they use real footage of their wedding. And you may think this is him on the phone with her as he doesn't believe in her visions because she sounds insane.
Roman, they're involved in the plot. They're not who you think they are. Roman, listen to me. There's this man named Charlie.
I can't imagine why the Tate family didn't like this movie. But before you think Polanski just ignored his pleading wife and let her die... See, that wasn't him on the phone. That was just supernatural Charlie, and the bathtub is now full of blood, just like in real life. I was about to think that this movie was going to tie into the Conjuring universe, but of course this was all just a dream again. And here's where the last 20 minutes begin to turn even more so into an alternate history version of the story as the Manson family attacks, but think less Inglourious Bastards and more Blubberella. Regardless, they should really keep quiet or they're gonna wake up their neighbor Rick Dalton, especially with this loud voiceover.
Little pigs, let us in.
Oh good, I was counting the moments for this to turn into a cheap remake of Straw Dogs. Now she's like the final girl in a horror movie, only if the whole group were the final girl. But let's throw some real lines in there.
I'm the devil. And I'm here to do the devil's business.
Oh my God, just like in her dream. See, if only in real life they just fought back like this. Look how easy it is. They gut Tex Watson, Folger leaps from the ceiling, people get their skulls cracked, and not once do they even bother asking their neighbor for a flamethrower. Instead, just smash Susan Atkins in the face with a toilet cover and drown that bitch in the tub. It's not that you couldn't do something like this in a movie. I've seen it done well. But in this movie, it has no impact because of the terrible dialogue and super serious schlocky horror that came before it. Even the crappy dialogue during the climax is meaningless.
Hey, asshole!
Fuck you.
Not even smoking Cliff Booth's joint would make this look like a good movie. It's not like the movie doesn't have an idea, it's just executed and written so heavy-handed and empty.
Do you think it's possible to alter the course of our fate? Or is our story just our book, written before we're even born?
My screenwriting class thinks I'm a genius for coming up with that one. It leaves us with our heroes wandering in the afterlife, looking over their own dead bodies. What does that mean? Was the dream real and the rest of it the actual dream? What kind of afterlife is this? Is it heaven because they got revenge on their attackers? Is it hell because they were looking at their mutilated corpses? Are they just doomed to forever walk the streets of Hollywood? This movie doesn't know. There's nothing respectful about it. It's just done for shock value's sake, leaving us with rejected fortune cookie dialogue.
I guess you could say I live in a fairy tale world, looking at everything through rose-colored glasses.
That's not deep. That's just unused lines from that Punky Brewster Challenger episode.
If is a word smack in the middle of life.
And somehow that show came across more respectful. Well, needless to say, this movie didn't go over well. While Sharon Tate's sister Deborah wildly disapproved of the movie, reviews didn't fare any better. Somehow it managed to get 19% approval on Rotten Tomatoes, but that was brought way down to the more appropriate 8 on Metacritic. Many called it one of the worst films of the year, but a strong warning for the director's next movie, The Murder of Nicole Brown Simpson, about Nicole being murdered by the cross-country killer after, you guessed it, a lot of visions. This movie is not Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. That film was at least a genuine bittersweet love letter, not just to Tate, but to the late 60s era of filmmaking in general. This movie is a love letter to the days of the Zodiac Killer being a rabbit-loving, devil-worshipping mailman, and even that movie was way more entertaining. I hereby condemn this film, for I would never take a real-life tragedy and make a cheap exploitation film out of it. At least, not without a disco soundtrack, of course.
Did you know that cielo means heaven in Spanish?